All right, we're back with another episode of Bonding. I, of course, am Mandy. That is my good friend Mark over in England. It's cold in both places where we are sitting. It's probably colder for you than it is for me.
It's
I think
cold, it's
currently it's
grey.
sitting at what's the temperature over there?
I'm about two degrees, I think.
Yeah, we are currently sitting around, I think it's like 20, 23 it says currently. 23 degrees Fahrenheit. It's chilly.
We're just above
Midwest.
zero here.
I know you don't keep up with American football, but we're in our playoffs right now, and it's so there was a game last night, the Chiefs and the Dolphins, and it was negative 9 degrees on the football field.
Ouch.
That's cold,
Mhm.
and they play
Yeah,
outdoors. Of course, they don't have a dome.
yeah.
There's a game supposed to be played today as we record. This is Sunday, the 13th, 14th. Pittsburgh playing Buffalo. And they're getting so much snow in Buffalo, they've actually moved the game till Monday. They
Mm,
said we won't be able to. It's dangerous. Like they're going to get 3 or 4 feet of snow in Buffalo.
yeah. I've done
Anyway, that's enough.
-20
It's
in
enough hot
Wrexham once.
football talk.
Yes.
Let-
Let's talk
So,
about
Mark,
George Lazenby.
we're here finally talking about On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Let me give you some quick numbers, and then we're going to jump into it. This film is sitting on Rotten Tomatoes right now. It currently with the critics at 81. And with the audience, it's at 64. That's not bad. Critics surprised me it's at 81 because I always thought this film kind of got a bad rap. But
It's
what
the problem child of the franchise. People either love it or they really don't. And I think it's a great film, but
yeah. Well, let me read these numbers. We'll get into it. So it was released in December of 1969, both in America and the States. I mean, in the States, England and the States. I think you guys got it a week before us when
yeah,
the
we got it
research I
before
was
you.
doing, which would make sense, obviously. The budget for this was $7 million, which was a little bit less than You Only Live Twice. And it only grossed 82 million. I say only because You Only Live Twice. I have the numbers in front of me. It done 111 million. Um, so, but still not bad. $82 million in 1969. That's pretty damn good money. Uh, Written by Richard Maybaum. Now, Maybaum had been working on the Bond films. He was on Doctor No, Rush with Love,
Yeah,
Goldfinger,
he was
Thunderball, Majesty's Secret Service, Diamonds Are Forever, The Man with the Golden Gun, The Spy Who Loved
because
Me.
they've been trying to develop on Her Majesty's. I think they were going to do it after Goldfinger, but for one reason or another, Thunderball came along, and then it kept getting pushed back. So it's on Her Majesty's was on the back burner with Maybaum for a while.
Didn't we talk another episode? And I feel like when I watched, I was watching the documentary about Lazenby, which we'll discuss later. What I think you had told me originally that this was a weather issue. This film is shot
Yeah,
in the Alps.
the book, yeah, it needs to be set in the Alps, and yeah, the weather was a problem, and then there's the rights issues with Thunderball was resolved, so they went with that in the end. But yeah, it was on the back burner for a while.
Yeah, it's like Thunderball was easier to make, so that's why they jumped on that one
Yeah,
first. Or anyway, moving on. What directed by Peter Hunt, and this was see as I go, I'm reading my notes here. He also worked as an editor on all of the previous Bond films.
that's right.
This is the
Like
first.
he was offered, or he was badgering them for a director's shot, and this was his go.
He did this one, and then he declined to direct any other Bond films after this.
Yeah, he only did this. Yeah.
They offered it to him, and he declined. Which I was like, "What is wrong with you? Like you've been given
But
the
at the
keys to the
time, he
kingdom."
got it did get quite a bashing. So I don't know, different
Yeah.
times.
So that's that. So we can jump into the film. I don't have a ton of notes. I think this will be more of a free form conversation. I have some, but we're just gonna let this kind of go. I will say right off the bat, this is the sixth film in the canon,
That's right.
and and this is gonna be, I'm sure some people will highly disagree with me, but this is my favorite film so far.
Yeah, is it?
Even over like the Doctor No and all that. And
Even over Goldfinger.
I love Connery. And I see there where the people fell in love with Connery as Bond. That I have no disagreement with that. But I enjoyed this movie a lot. I
Mm.
really thought this was a well done movie. Now I'm
I
not going to
think
argue.
George is good in it. I think he does a good job. I mean, he's a little bit. People moan and say, "Oh, he's a bit wooden here and there. He's just a model." But I think he's good in it, and yeah,
It,
I've always liked On Her Majesty's. I think it's got some great action.
it
Diana
does.
Regan, I think it's got some good spots in them.
Well, and the story, I liked the story. It was good. I was into it. I mean, you go back to the earlier films, and some of the stories are just ridiculous, and it's fine. I'm not saying they're bad, but this one actually, I'll be captivated. I was like, oh, this is pretty good. I want to see where this is going,
Yeah,
and of course the scenery is stunning.
yeah, there's some
Um,
stunning shots.
I loved it. I love. Now I'll say this, and I think you and I talked a little bit about this off right after I watched it. I didn't care for this theme song,
Did you
and
know?
I think you said you really enjoyed this one. It's
I
one of your
really like
favorites.
it. I think it's just belts out Bond. Is I think it's a great. I like it.
Yeah, and I don't think it's bad. I just was like, I don't know, and I think I've said it before too that I'm in such a headspace with Bond theme songs that what little I know about Bond theme songs is, of course, McCartney's "Live and Let Die."
Yeah,
You know, "View to a Kill" from Duran Duran. These songs were in my era of music listening. So those are the ones that are just embedded in my head. So everything in my head compares to this epic "Live and Let Die,"
yeah.
which I don't know where it stands with the Bond people, but that's what I compare it to. It was good. And a quick little note. I don't know if you know this. This is the only Bond film. I got a couple of things here we're talking about first. The only Bond film to have two theme songs.
Oh, with the Louis Armstrong one at the end. Yeah, yeah.
It had the Louis Armstrong song, and then there was an instrumental,
The instrumental.
which also the Louis Armstrong song, which is let me. I find my note here.
With all
It
the time.
was all the time in the world actually shows up in another song, another movie. So I don't know if you know that. It's the only Bond song to come back in No Time to Die over the closing credits.
Oh yeah, it played at the end. That's right. Yeah.
So apparently people like it.
Again, the instrumental is a great twangy bit of funky Bond, and the credits at the beginning with all the different colors, and I think they've got little shots of characters from past Bond movies in cocktail glasses and things like that. I think it's very well
Yeah.
done. It's great, and then bang, you're straight into the action.
Yes. So my notes are let's get to the you'll know better than me, but the sequence where Lazenby breaks the fourth wall and
oh
looks at the camera and said, "I bet this didn't happen to the other guy."
to the other fella.
I loved it from the go. I was like, I love
It's
this.
a
I like
great way of dealing with the whole thing. Right. It's a brand new Bond. Sean's not here anymore. We know you wanted him back. It's George now. This is it. Let's move on. And bang. I think they do it brilliantly. It's a great fight.
yeah,
Who's this? He's driving. Who? I think it's very well done from the start. You can see the back of his head. It's obviously an Aston Martin. It's driving through, I think it's Portugal or Spain or something.
yeah,
It's clearly Bond, but you're just getting, and then you just see little shots of him as he lights the cigarette. It's very well done, sort of bringing him gradually in, and then bang, who's this woman, beautiful woman in the, what is it, a cougar that comes flying past it, and you're
yeah.
straight into the action, and it's Bond straight away in his Aston Martin chasing a beautiful girl in a beautiful place, and then it all kicks off. She's trying to commit suicide. He goes and saves her. Did you notice the gun in the glove box of the Aston?
Yes.
It's the same. That's the same Armalite little sniper rifle that's in the briefcase
Oh,
in from on was it From Russia with Love?
yes.
Nice little touch there. Same gun.
Yeah,
And
little
then yeah,
nods. But because I did not have any expectations of this film, and that little break in the fourth wall, I was like, I'm in.
yeah,
I
it's a
think
nice
this is
touch.
awesome, and that's a nice way to win me over. And I don't know whose
Yeah,
idea that was, but kudos. It was a brilliant move to make. It's
yeah,
it's addressing the elephant in the room, but now let's move on.
yeah.
And
This is how it is, and it's a great. I mean, out of nowhere, those two guys turn up because the woman's well, she's more than she's more than just a beautiful woman. She's the daughter of the head of the Union Corsairs, which is a Sicilian gang. Are they Italian? Yeah, Italian gangster group, I think.
yeah,
So they come out of nowhere and try and beat him up, and I think it's a great fight on the beach. George, instantly you can see this guy can carry himself. He's James Bond. It's great. It's a good fight.
Yeah, he's got the size, he's got the swagger, which we can address a little bit of how he kind of got the job. I mean, a guy who just no acting experience, believed he could do it, and he just walked in and got the role.
The story of George Lazenby and him becoming Bond is a fascinating story. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and we're going to do another episode after this one, just about Lazenby, because the guy's so fascinating. So we'll hold some of this back. I'll say this. So in the notes I took on the research, I don't know if you know this. I'm sure you do because you're way more into this than I am. There's some 400 actors they looked at to replace Connery, including a future Bond, Timothy Dalton. And from what I read, he was offered the job.
25. He's too young.
And he said, I'm too young for Bond. I'm only 24, 25 at the time. I always thought Bond should be 35 or 40, in that range. And then coincidentally, Lazenby, who takes the job, is only 29 at filming this, but he pulled it off very well.
But he looks like a man's man. Lazenby looks the part.
Yes. Now, and we've said it before too. He was a model. He had zero acting experience coming in. Now he lied his way into this thing, which again we'll address.
I think the big part he had before all this was a chocolate commercial, a Big Fry.
We
used to have them here in England. I think it was a chocolate bar called Big Fry. I think it might have had coconut in it or something.
Yes,
but yeah, he was in the commercial for that, looking all buff, and I think that's where they sort of thought, yeah, he's got the look for it.
Oh, sure,
he was a male model for a long time. Car salesman as well, sold cars in Australia.
Yes, we'll get to that in the Lazenby talk, because I watched the documentary Becoming Bond, and he's a really fascinating guy, and he deserves
it's an interesting story.
He deserves his own time. I truly think that. Let's see. I talked about the music, the fourth wall we talked about breaking down. As far as the film, this one, according to online stuff that I had read, it says here, while the first four Bond movies were reasonably faithful adaptations of Ian Fleming's novels, the fifth movie, You Only Live Twice, basically jettisoned the entire plot of the book on which it was based, saving Half Blofeld as the villain. But with On Her Majesty's Secret Service, the producers, director Peter Hunt, and screenwriter Richard Maybaum deliberately set out to make the most accurate adaptation yet. And they did. On Her Majesty's Secret Service is remarkably close to the Fleming's 10th novel.
Yeah, it was.
And
Peter Hunt used to keep the book with him on set, and he'd refer to it all the time, apparently.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. And like I said, maybe that's why I truly enjoyed this film, because I think it was well done. And I had read a couple of the Bond novels. I did not read this one, and I kind of wish I had now. But maybe I'll go back and read it.
I think at the very beginning of the film, when the music finishes and it goes back into the film, there's a close-up shot of the nameplate for Universal Exports, which is
his company.
His company, MI6. But if you watch it, you can see a man in the reflection. He's walking along the street, and that's Peter Hunt, the director.
Oh, no way!
Allegedly, yeah. He's in it at the very beginning.
Oh, I have to check that out.
You can just see him in the shiny brass of the nameplate. He's walking along.
That's great.
It's interesting he didn't come back to do another one, but there we go.
It really is, and he went on to have a career. It's just he never came back to Bond, and I don't know if it was a bad. I couldn't find anywhere, and I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but I couldn't find in my research why he didn't come back. If there was a fallout or whatever, he just didn't do it. There was a continuity issue in the film where Blofeld and Bond meet, and they don't recognize. Blofeld doesn't recognize Bond.
I mean, they've met in the movie before, You Only Live Twice, so they've come face to face. So yeah, Telly Savalas, Blofeld in this film should know who he is, but
it was a very interesting little
past that one.
Yeah, no big deal. And speaking of Telly Savalas, man, I kind of dig him as Blofeld.
I think he's a great villain in this. I think he's quite dangerous in this.
The weird thing for me as a American is no matter what Telly Savalas does, he's always Kojak to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can't see past that. But I really enjoyed him, and I was like, I get this. I still think Pleasance is the best.
Oh yeah, he exudes menace, Donald Pleasance. But I think Telly
He,
Savalas in this is good, and he needs to be a bit more athletic with the ski chase scenes and everything else. Telly Savalas works in this film.
yeah, yeah. So a couple of little quick things. This is technically considered a Christmas movie. If you
That's
think
right.
about
Yeah.
when he's going down, he's skiing down the slopes, he ends up in the
Yeah.
little village, and it's there's Christmas decorations and
Yeah,
all
it's
that. So
Christmas. Yeah.
that's fascinating because people always argue about Die Hard being a Christmas movie or not, and because
Yeah, no, but Honor Majesty's is definitely a Bond Christmas movie.
yeah, it's set in Christmas time, so which I think is fun.
Mm.
This is, I think, the first time, and I think there's a second time. You could correct me later on, where Bond quits the Secret Service.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, he's
And
looking because after You Only Live Twice, Bond's looking for Blofeld. They're trying to find him.
yeah,
And that's why he's in Spain. That's how he bumps into Tracy. He's out there looking, but he can't find him. He's getting absolutely nowhere. So M basically gives him a bollocking, saying you're getting you're getting nowhere. So he resigns. So right, that's it. I've had enough.
yeah,
Moneypenny doesn't put the resignation in, so and he gets 2 weeks leave or something like
yeah.
that.
It's funny. He comes back because your vacation's been approved or something, which is
Yeah,
kind of
that's right.
fun.
Yeah. She saves, but yeah, he quits in a huff because M's giving him a hard time because he can't find Blofeld.
Yeah, and I didn't want to. I skipped over. I'm going to go back for just a second. I didn't want to blow past the cars. Bond's car was, as you said, an
Well,
Aston Martin, right?
it's a beautiful metallic olive green
Yeah.
BBS. They'd only just come out, 1969, 68, 69, the new shape Aston, and it's just gorgeous. It's a beautiful color. This is how sad I am. GKX8G is the number plate. I'm good with
Nerd.
stuff like that.
He's a nerd.
It's a beautiful car, black leather inside. It looks great. It sounds great. Oh yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. And she's in a rather lethal looking Cougar.
I believe it's a Cougar.
Yeah,
But
Mercury
I'll
Cougar.
put it up in the editing. I'll put it up.
Mm.
I'm gonna pause this for just a second, Mark. If you
Right.
can, hang on. So let me ask you this, because I don't follow the details much. What was M a different actor, or is that the same actor?
No, it's still Bernard Lee.
Okay, he's just looking different. Because I made a little note. I was like, I put a question mark.
Yeah, no, same actor.
Q.
They're talking about radioactive lint or something, and then he's saying it's a great way to keep track of people. And M said, "Well, we really need to know where's 007." It's yeah, same actor.
But I noticed in this one the gadgets weren't. There wasn't a lot of gadgets in this.
Pared them back a bit.
And I read that they seems like they try to do something that said in the I was reading somewhere that about every 6 to 8 films they try to reset Bond with the gadgets so they can do new ones.
It gets a little bit out of hand, and then they seem to rein it back in a bit.
But it's the one thing I truly enjoy, and they didn't really have much in this one. So I was like, oh, and I like Q, so.
Yeah, Q's on the telephone, isn't he? When they're back at the office. That's right. You don't see much.
Yeah, it's just not much.
Hmm.
I also have a note that was interesting. Draco, right? Is that the
Marc-Ange Draco, Tracy's father?
He punches his daughter in the face at one point in the movie.
Yeah, that's right. He does. Spare the rod and spoil the child, or something.
It's like, Jesus, I felt bad about spanking my daughter when she was little. He punched her right in the face.
Yeah.
But it turned out okay for her. So let's move on. Bond gets married in this film.
He does indeed. He does indeed.
Which really threw me off because I didn't know it was coming. And you see it happening, but I was like, why would Bond ever get married? It just didn't work for my thinking.
Well, in my mind, Dinah Rigg is amazing in this. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
And coming from
He's like, don't let her go.
Exactly. She's Emma Peel. You're not aware of the Avengers, the TV show.
I'm not.
No, but she was very big here in the 60s in the Avengers. She was a character called Emma Peel.
Okay.
And she's iconic. She's legendary. And if anybody was going to be James Bond's wife, it was going to be Emma Peel. And I think she's perfect for it. She's feisty. She's amazing. Dinah Rigg is just amazing.
Yeah, she really was. Feisty is probably the best word.
She's her
She
own
wasn't.
woman. She doesn't take any shit from anyone, but she's also very vulnerable as well. And yeah, it all works. And Bond, yeah,
I
Bond's looking for
loved.
Blofeld. She's Mark and Draco's daughter. Now he's head of one of the biggest crime syndicates in Europe. So if anybody can help him find Blofeld, it's this guy. So
Yeah, it's
Draco wants him to marry Tracy to calm her down because she's a wild child. He doesn't want to get married, but he said, "Well, I'll romance her if you help me find Blofeld." So that's how it all starts. But then as he gets to know Tracy, he falls in love with her because she's Diana Rigg and she's amazing. And who can
well,
blame her?
and let's not gloss over when Bond is up at Telly Savalas's
Oh, the Angels of
chateau.
Death, those beautiful women.
The scene where the girl writes her room number. So Bond's walking around in a kilt, which is fun. Which I guess is just a total
Well, he's
nod
pretending
to
to be Sir Hilary Bray, the guy that's I can't think of the word.
the ancestry.
The answer, yeah, he's a herald. That's right. He's posing
Yeah.
as Sir Hilary Bray, who in the film is played by George Baker, who turns up again in The Spy Who Loved Me as Admiral. I think it's Admiral Hargreaves. He's one of the admirals in the Navy.
Oh, really?
Roger
That's
Moore.
cool.
Yeah.
I like that they keep it all in the family to a degree.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, a lot of actors coming back playing significant roles. But yeah, George Baker's definitely, yeah, he comes back in Spy. He's
A
one
lot
of
of
the admirals.
callback.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
the scene where the one angel of death writes her room number on Bond's inner thigh. If you remember this, right? They're all sitting at the dinner table, and
She lifts up
she
his
reaches.
skirt,
She,
goes, yeah. Right,
yeah,
I think it's number 8 or something, isn't it, on his
yeah.
thigh?
So
Yeah.
the interesting thing is, while watching the documentary, um, Lazenby said that they had him and the props crew had taped a sausage
Oh, did they?
to the inside of his leg, so
She
she would
didn't
feel
know.
this like 12-inch long sausage. And he said, "You watching the film?" He goes, "She doesn't even acknowledge it. She just smiles."
She's a complete pro. Yeah, she's good.
She was a pro, and he was like, "I'm dying inside." He goes, "The crew's on the back behind me, just I can see him laughing." But he said, the interesting thing was that the lines, the little quips where she's the head lady at the table, she's like, "Is something wrong?" He's like, just gone a little stiff."
A little stiffness. That's it. I can feel a little stiffness coming on. Yeah.
I just adore the little tiny, just little jokes, and he moves on. He doesn't hover on it. He says it and moves on.
Mm.
I just thought that was great. So the film is good. I enjoyed it. The one thing that caught me completely off guard at the end of the film, and the spoiler if you have not seen this movie because it's been out for 50 years, 54 years, the death. I
It is a bit of
was
a shocker.
I sat, Mark, in my chair watching this, and I mean, I paused. I was like, "What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, why would they do this to him?" And he
It's a great ending. And I mean, Lazenby over the years has had his critics, and people say, "Oh, he's not a great Bond," or that. But I think
he
he
was
plays that end scene brilliantly. It's
absolutely. I felt for him, his loss of like she's
yeah,
just resting. She's
yeah,
just resting. I'm like, "Oh my god, he is
yeah,
destroyed."
yeah. It's. I think he does a good job at the end. It's a shame he didn't come back and do another one because it would have been very interesting to see where he'd have taken it. But
Well, I would hope, and I have not seen the next one, obviously. I would hope that he would spend his days tracking Blofeld
no,
down and
exactly.
mercilessly kill this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that as you say, gutted me. I was like, oh man.
It's beautifully shot. I mean, they're on the side of a mountain. It's a beautiful view. They've pulled over. He's taken because his Aston's covered in flowers after the wedding, so he's taken the flowers off. And there's
Yeah,
Blofeld. And what's the woman's name? Irma Bunt, I think her name is, isn't it?
yeah.
What's the name?
I
The woman.
think you're right.
And he unleashes with a machine gun and gets her.
Just, I mean, again,
And it's a
well,
great ending. That cracked windscreen and the flowers and everything. It's a great finish.
and it makes sense. I totally get it, but oh, I just wasn't prepared for that in a Bond film. But it makes sense because he can't really be married. He's a spy. I mean, it just
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. But I mean, in the theory, if they really wanted to, they could have ended the series there, let him run off happily ever after. But I mean, I know that doesn't work for the.
That doesn't work in the world of James Bond. But I think, yeah, I think he plays it brilliantly at the end. I think they asked him to do two versions. One where he cried and one where he didn't. And I think it's just great. It's played beautifully at the end. It's very good.
Well, that's all I've got note wise. If you want to discuss a little bit, anything you take away from film, anything you thought was a favorite. I one last thing I just remembered while we're talking, the opening sequence, where the Bond points and looks at the camera and shoots.
Yeah.
In the Becoming Bond documentary, they were showing how when he drops to his knee to shoot,
he drops to his knee, George, doesn't he? That's right.
And Peter Hunt hated that. He's like, "Don't do that." He said, "Do it the same way."
He didn't like that.
He didn't like it at all, according to the documentary. He didn't like it, and again, I give this is again giving credit to Lazenby. I think the guy was brilliant without getting the credit for it. I think it was his way of shaking off, like, I'm not the other guy.
Yeah,
I'm the new guy. This is how I want to do it. And the guy's like, just do it the way I ask you to do it. He kept doing it wrong. And in the documentary, he said that the director kind of stormed off and got mad, said, "Take a break. You're gonna do it the way I want you to do it."
I think one of the things that swung it for him when he got the job is he actually punched some guy in the face. They were auditioning him doing. Yeah, he was so into it, and he thought,
they were working on
this is our guy.
The stunt scenes and coordinating, and he actually knocked one of the guys like pretty hard in the face, and
it's all shot beautifully. I mean, at the end, what's it called? Piz Gloria. Blofeld's got that fake clinic at the top of a Swiss Alp somewhere, and it's beautifully shot. I mean, some of the helicopter flying in and the music.
Oh, it's stunning, and I like that it's an allergy clinic up in the middle of the Alps. Like, I have bad allergies. I would love to go to a clinic in the Alps.
Yeah. It's a beautifully shot film, and of course all the ski chases at the air. It's I think it's a great rollicking good adventure film. I think it's good, and it's got the twist that it's not Connery. It's slightly different.
Yeah, like I said, it's I will go on from this day forward being a Lazenby fan, and I wish, and we talked a little bit before we started filming. So what I know, and you can jump in if you know anything different, he was offered, according to what I read, $1 million under the table, just cash to sign, because he didn't sign a contract on Her Majesty's. And all of Salzman's and Broccoli's people are like, how did you not, why didn't you get him to sign a contract? Like, he has to have a contract. They're like, we just didn't think about it. And so they had to go back and retroactively get him to sign a contract, and they wanted him to do 6 more films.
6 films. That's $1 million, wasn't it?
They gave him $1 million up front, and then he was going to get paid whatever the films were, his salary. Yeah. And in the documentary, he says it's referred to as a slave contract, meaning that they can tell him how to walk, talk, dress, act. They control everything he does. And to his credit, and again, crazy because everybody, I think we said before, I guarantee 98% of people would have taken the money and done the thing and became the next James Bond and became wealthy.
Why wouldn't you? Yeah.
He said no. He said, I'm not doing this. You're not going to control everything I do. You're just not. And his protest was he grew a beard.
No, he turned up for the premiere with a great big beard. That's right. Yeah.
He was told not to come to the premiere. Salzman called and said, do not show up at the premiere unless you shave that beard off. And he said, so what did I do? Because I got a hot girl on my arm and I went to the premiere. And then he was supposed to go on a tour of America, a press tour, and they weren't going to pay for it unless he shaved his beard. So he paid for it himself.
Did he?
And he did all the tour. He did all the talk shows. And according to the documentary, he got on the Johnny Carson show, which is the big Tonight Show over here.
Yeah.
And that's where he kind of declared on that show that he was no longer going to do any more Bond films.
So it is. It's an interesting story. He put such a lot of effort, and there was such a lot of luck and chance involved in him getting it, and then he just don't want to do it again. It's an interesting story, Lazenby.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, again, so if anybody's watching this, we're going to do another episode shortly here about just Lazenby. But I thought that was, again, just mind blowing. Like, you were handed the keys to a kingdom, and he was like, "Nah, not interested."
Apparently, there's another story that's just popped into my head. One of my favorite Bond movies is I'm a big fan of Roger Moore, and I like The Spy Who Loved Me. I think that's a great great Bond film. There's a ski stunt at the beginning of The Spy Who Loved Me where he jumps off a mountain and pulls a parachute, and it unfolds, and it's the Union Jack. It's the
Yeah.
English flag. Well, apparently that was George Lazenby's idea for one of the stunts in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, but they couldn't do it, or for whatever reason it didn't happen. But apparently Lazenby suggested it for this film, and they kept the idea and then used it.
I have a quote here. Let me see if I can find it. I was reading through some stuff earlier regarding your buddy Roger Moore. Roger Moore made reference to Lazenby in his commentary for a 2007 DVD release of The Man with the Golden Gun. Quote, Roger Moore, I have a great deal of email contact with George Lazenby. He's sort of in on the joke circuit. That we simply send jokes to each other. On Her Majesty's Secret Service was a very well-made film. Peter Hunt was excellent fight stuff, excellent snow effects, but I think the end result for George was that it was one of the better Bonds.
Yeah, I think I've always rated it. I think he looks good. He sounds great. It's a good story. Diana Rigg is excellent. Yeah, I've always liked On Her Majesty's. It's a good film.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I enjoyed this one a lot. So we can wrap this up, and we'll go on and do a talk about Lazenby here in short. So from Nashville, I say thank you, and Mark.
Good night, Nashville, from England.
And we will talk again. Thanks, everybody.
This has been a Touch of Madness production, brought to you by the creative minds at Tommy Twins Media.